All right, we are live for our 3 o'clock live stream. Let me just pop a comment in here really quick to see if anybody is joining us. If you are here and you can see and hear okay, give me a little like, give me a little thumbs up, throw me a comment, give us some love, let us know that we look and sound okay. Thanks so much for being here, guys, for our daily 3 o'clock live streams. My name is Kyle. I'm a park interpretive specialist for California State Parks, and today we're going to be talking about California Biodiversity Day. This is just about a month away. Let me see, what is actually the date today? It is 1 day and 1 month away. Hello, Sandra. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is on September 7th is the International Biodiversity Day. This is going to be our second annual one. This started back in 2018. So those of you guys who were involved last year, we did this huge event, a bio blitz. All kinds of people went out, used the iNaturalist app to identify things all over the place. Obviously, things are going to be a little bit different this year with social distancing and things like that. So we are kicking off. We're going to do a series of interviews talking to professionals in the field who do some work around biodiversity. So what is biodiversity? What is Biodiversity Day? Like I said, it started back in 2018, California Biodiversity Day. This has to do with preserving basically the variety of life that we have in an area. So bio being life, diversity being the variety of. So it's not like, oh my gosh, there's a whole bunch of one redwood in this park. It's like all of the different types of trees. That's the diversity of it. So that's essentially what biodiversity is. If you want to learn a little bit more, you can go to californiabiodiversityinitiative.org. They have a pledge on there that you can sign. Let them know that this is something you're interested in, and let them know that you're interested in being involved. However, citizens, scientists can get involved with this kind of work, preserving our diversity in California, our biodiversity. Incredibly important. So, with me today, in the spirit of these interviews, I have Mo Morissette. He is one of my coworkers here for California State Parks, but I'm going to let him tell you a little bit more about what he does. Thank you so much for being here today, Mo. Will you tell me a little bit more about what you do?
Yeah, so I work for California State Parks for about 10 years now here at the North Coast Redwoods. I'm a biologist, and I'm one of a team of a bunch of people here, that other biologists and other people here, that we do natural resource work. And how that ties into biodiversity is, well, over the years we've done a lot of, protecting the resources of all our parks, but and we've been focusing on, threatened species and endangered species, stuff like that, or, invasive species coming in. But when it comes down to biodiversity, we've discovered that it's better to really start treating stuff at a habitat scale or a landscape scale. If you really get the natural processes going back the way they should have been, then you have a lot more success instead of just focusing on a certain species or certain types of species. That being said, a lot of our natural resource work and restoration work is invasive species and trying to manage those from taking over areas of the park. Some of our success stories have been such as our dune restoration out at Gobelos Beach, which is in Prairie Creek, Redwoods, National and State Parks. We did about 200-acre restoration out there after doing some pilot work at Little River State Beach, and getting rid of an invasive European beach grass that over the last 25 to 30 years has invaded the Northwest from down the Bay Area and just taken over a lot of beach habitats and reduced the biodiversity. You basically get a sea of beach grass where there used to be dozens and dozens of native flowering plants that are dune related.
And we do have a photo of that invasive species. Sorry, I have you holding all the photos. I can take this from you if you want.
There you go.
So we have, this is the invasive dune grass, woohoo, on the right there. It's called Ammophila arenaria.
Yeah, and it takes over, and you basically get a monoculture of just that and a few other, species that are hardy enough to grow within their dune mat coverage. But what we did is gone in, and we had to use heavy equipment to treat such a large area, but it was quite successful, and it's now kind of a pioneering project that's an example for a lot of other agencies who are attempting to do similar restorations up and down the coast. When we got rid of the beach grass, within just a year or two, the native species just took off and just are covering, and we're getting in this dune system start building up back out there again, and we're getting pollinators associated with these plants coming back that disappear when you kind of lose some of that biodiversity. So that was a real exciting project to work on and manage and see success with. We're also doing some stuff right now similar in a habitat restoration for an endangered species of butterfly up in Taloa. And that's also due to climate change and poor management of the habitat due to human impacts that have been there. Now that parks have got the property, and we're finding out this butterfly is disappearing at a rapid rate, We're doing it from the base up. We're trying to restore the system for the butterfly, which is key for several species, but we're restoring it to the way in a way that it encourages biodiversity. So the restoration is not just going to impact this one species, but it's going to impact a multiple bunch of pollinator species, butterflies and bees and flies and stuff. So,
and we have a photo here of that species of butterfly. This is the Oregon silver spot butterfly.
Yeah, it's the only spot in California that this particular subspecies of this silver spot is found, and it's quickly disappearing. Hopefully we're not to the point where it may go extinct, but we're doing our best to restore the habitat, and it's coming along quite nicely. You know, it's just starting, and it's going to take quite a few years to get it back to where it should be. But it's a part of a team. We're doing this with multiple agencies, and hopefully we'll see success with that as well.
That is pretty incredible, Mo. Thank you for sharing. So it sounds like a lot of what you do with the restoration work is you kind of, it's like a front end work where you kind of restore as many of these characteristics as the kind of original ecosystem has, and then you kind of let the ecosystem kind of take course.
Yeah, because nature's much better at restoring stuff than we are in the long run. You know, much more efficient at it. And you know, doing that's expensive work too. So trying to let nature do a lot of the work for us is really beneficial. And yeah, it's a way to start doing and thinking about restoration projects is, you know, from the ground up, on a large scale. If you kind of set the base and let nature take over from there, then you can have a lot more success, I think, in the long run.
That's excellent. And can you tell us a little bit about what can ordinary citizens or normal people do to get involved with this kind of work?
Well, there's a lot of volunteer opportunities. We generally have, well, conditions being said for this time and period of our history right now. We may not be able to do a lot of our big group stuff that we used to do, but we often have a lot of volunteer events where people can come out and help do some of the restoration, and it helps us a lot because, you know, it saves on costs and it gives people a way to really get involved and help restore these systems back the way they should be.
Spectacular. So yes, during our ordinary operations, we have volunteer events that people can take part in, all kinds of restoration work, pulling English ivy and other invasives, including this invasive beach grass. There's a lot of ways that you can get involved with this kind of work. Just have, also to our public, I'm sorry, I so forgot to mention this ahead of time. If you guys have any questions for Mo, we are so very lucky to have him on camera today, an expert in the field. If you have any questions personally about the work he's doing or the species that he's interacted with, please feel free. Sorry, Kim, that you missed the introductions. This is Kyle behind the camera yelling all these things. So if you guys have any questions for him, please feel free to ask. I have one last question for you, Mo, while we wait for these to generate. Do you have a favorite moment that you've had in the field? Maybe seeing an animal or something? Just a top. Doesn't have to be your most favorite.
My most memorable moment was doing work in what's now our Mill Creek acquisition, and a lot of big works going on right now. Was years ago I had a nice confrontation with a wild mountain lion.
Wow.
And you know, it was a good 20-minute encounter that was just magical.
Wow.
And, you know, something a lot of people don't get to experience, and you know, it's just a chance to be out in the wild, and stuff will happen.
I have to ask, during that encounter, was it feeling like a magical moment or a little bit more of a scary moment?
It was quite stressful right at first and concerning, but you know, the cat was just a little more curious than threatening, so
excellent.
It turned out well.
So we did have a very easy and quick question, just that people are down south or inland very jealous of your light jacket look, asking if it was cold here.
No, it's actually quite muggy today for the North Coast, but for some areas, like, people would consider this kind of a cool weather area.
Definitely.
I mean, you know, if it gets 70 degrees around here, we're stripping down and sweltering.
So we have another question here that said, what is the worst invasive species that you find around here?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I can answer that. We have a lot of bad ones. Yeah, and our botanist would be able to answer that a little better as to which ones the ones of most concern. Mm-hmm. I know we have some knotweeds and what else? The English ivy is a bad one. The Ammophila is pretty bad. It's hard to really control. Most of the spots we have got it kind of under control. It's not, you know, if we just lapse a little bit, it quickly will take back over.
Wow.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I think our natural resource budget, I think more than more than half of it is dedicated towards invasive plant species. And you know, we have to kind of pick and choose. There's so many, and we prioritize the ones that are definitely more critical and when we can make a better impact on with the funds we have.
Excellent, excellent. I'm going to take this one last question from Kim, and then if you guys have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them after the fact in the comments as well. Just says, what is your best bear encounter?
My best bear encounter? Oh, this wasn't with the parks, but this was many years ago up in Oregon in the Kalmiopsis Wilderness. I was doing some research work up there, bird related, and just trolling through some hillsides, and I came across a yearling bear, a very young one that had obviously never seen a human before. And I couldn't get him to leave me alone. I kept yelling at him, hollering. He turned and walked the other way, and I turned, go my way, and I turned around 5 minutes later, and he was right behind me again. And he followed me for about a good hour. But he was awful cute. I think he had another thing. He was just interested because he'd never probably seen anything like me before.
Wow, incredible. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Mo. I'm gonna show off that last photo that we have right here, just to show you guys. This is another invasive, or not invasive. This is another native species that we're working to restore environments, and this is the western snowy plover here, and of course we have this great picture of a baby with an egg because it's so cute. But this is a lot of that beach restoration work is going towards creating habitat for this bird as well, this endangered species.
Yep.
With that, Mo, I'm going to thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate your time as well, and great answers, really entertaining stories. It's always wonderful to hear from you.
Sweet. I encourage people to get out and volunteer and come visit our parks.
Yes, come visit our parks, volunteer, get involved with California Biodiversity Initiative. Check out the website, californiabiodiversityinitiative.org. Lots of spectacular ways to get involved, especially coming up over this next month with September 7th being California Biodiversity Day. There's going to be all kinds of events around that, not just with state parks, but I'm sure with local organizations that you may or may not be involved with. Tons of ways to get involved. So thank you guys again so much for tuning in. Really quick, I do want to acknowledge that we are in the time of COVID-19. Thank you guys all so much for doing your part to shelter in place. We're doing what we can here as well. Me and Mo are standing 6 feet apart, keeping our social distance. We're going to sanitize this equipment once we're done and do everything we can to keep everybody safe as well. So thank you guys all so much again for tuning in. Keep tuning in at 3 o'clock for our daily live streams, and stay tuned as well for more interviews with professionals from the field all about biodiversity in preparation for California Biodiversity Day on September 9th. Thank you guys again so much.